Alright, what's good everybody? It's your boy Akeem. Welcome to the Franchise Sports Talk Fantasy Football Blog. I'm here to continue my top tight ends for the 2012 NFL fantasy season. Now I've listed a couple of great ones from numbers 20 through 11, and now it's time to give you my top 10. Now before I begin with that, I would like to admit that I made an error yesterday on yesterday's video when I mentioned Kellen Winslow. I actually ranked him 14th this season. Now I also said that he's with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but I was actually wrong with that. He's with the Seattle Seahawks. That was my error, but I'm still going to stick with him at number 14. I think he's due for a good season. Now I'm going to go to the top 10. I'm going to start at number 10 with Brandon Pettigrew of the Detroit Lions. He had 777 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns. Now I had a little bit of debate between him and Brett Selleck of the Philadelphia Eagles of who should be in the top at number 10, but I had to go with Pettigrew because he's younger and he's a bigger target, and I think he is due for a Pro Bowl season. At number 9, I'm going to go with a very good consistent tight end, and Dustin Keller of the New York Jets. For the past 2 seasons, he's been doing pretty good and been very consistent. I do like his play. Now he doesn't really display many huge numbers, huge games, but he has been very consistent, and you pretty much know what you're going to get out of him. He can average probably at least 11 points per game. Seriously, he's going to be very consistent. I like him a lot. I think he can be due for a bigger season as well as Pettigrew. At number 8, I'm going to go with Antonio Gates of the San Diego Chargers. Now, it was hard for me to put him at number 8, but he's been dealing with a lot of health issues. Now, last season, he posted 115 points according to ESPN, ranking him 7th overall at the end of the year for the tight end position. He's still a great tight end, but he has been getting hurt for the past 2 seasons, and I'm not really 100% sure how well he would do this year. He's actually getting of age, but he's still a good, valuable tight end. At number 7, I'm going to actually go with Jason Witten of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, I had a hard time bumping this kid back at number 7. Last year, he was my number 1 tight end, and he gives you a lot of receptions. He was actually in the top 5 for the past 2 seasons in the National Football League in receptions, but he dealt with a spleen injury in the preseason match against the Oakland Raiders, and I'm not 100% sure on him. Also, Dallas is still developing the receiving core, so a lot of players are going to be focusing more on him and that receiving core for the Dallas Cowboys and their offense with Tony Romo. And I think because of that, I had to bump him back at number 7. I was actually going to start him off this season at number 3, but mainly because of that spleen injury and the fact that the receiving core is actually coming back for the Dallas Cowboys, I think those stats are going to lower just a little bit, but he's still probably make it to the top 5 at the end of the season. He just needs to stay healthy, and I think he'll be fine for week 1. At number 6, I'm going to go with Vern Davis of the San Francisco 49ers. Now, he's actually a top 5 receiver in my opinion, but the reason why I had to put him at number 6, he did post up good numbers with 792 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns, but he has no support and cast really so far in the receiving core for Alex Smith to pass to. He's their only top target, and I think he's going to deal with a lot of double teams. Even though he could become a slot receiver, I think he's going to struggle receiving this season unless a young receiver like Mario Manningham or rookie A.J. Jenkins steps up to the plate and helps him out for that receiving game. But he's still a good tight end. I like him a lot, especially in that NFC playoff game against the St. Louis the New Orleans Saints. He ended up scoring the game-winning touchdown with tears, and he plays hard. He's a freak. He has been working hard for the past couple of seasons, and I think he's due for another Pro Bowl year. Number 5, I'm going to actually go with Jermichael Finley of the Green Bay Packers. Now, had a great season last season, 667 yards receiving and 8 touchdowns, and he's a good target for Aaron Rodgers. They are loaded with a lot of talent in that offense, and I do like the fact that they picked up Cedric Benson of the Cincinnati Bengals to help out that running game, but that receiving core is sick. Jordy Nelson, they even got Jones and Greg Jennings is coming back with Jermichael Finley. These guys are going to post up big numbers like they did last season. At number 5, I had a hard time with this one, but I'm going to go with Tony Gonzalez of the Atlanta Falcons at number 4. Now, he was actually ranked number 4 last season overall. He is still a stud, and he's still, with all the experience, he is still the man at the tight end position, increasing his record books for the most receiving yards as a tight end. He's obviously a Hall of Famer, and he he's probably due for at least another 800-yard season and a good target for Matt Ryan. At number 3, I'm going to go with one Patriot that I have in my top 3, Aaron Hernandez. With him, he had 910 yards receiving and 7 scores, and he has a great partner, and he's actually my number 1 tight end. But before I get to that, I'm going to go with number 2, Jimmy Graham of the New Orleans Saints. Now, he had a great year, breakthrough season, 1,310 yards receiving and 11 scores. I don't think those numbers are going to be the same. This year might dwindle just a little bit, but I believe he will get at least 1,100 yards receiving. He's a big target, another basketball caliber player, basketball tight end player like Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates. He was actually playing basketball at the U while he was playing football. Very little experience in college football, but he ended up developing well in the National Football League, catching the football just like he's catching a rebound. For basketball, he has the talent, and I think he's going to have another all-pro type year. At number 1, this was an obvious choice for me, Rob Gronkowski of the New England Patriots. This guy is a huge tight end who plays like a receiver. He has the speed, and he has been very, very consistent in playing last season. A lot of big games week after week, and this is going to be one of Tom Brady's favorite targets next to Wes Welker. And like him and Aaron Hernandez, if I see 3 more good seasons like they had last season, these 2 players, Hernandez and Gronkowski, will be considered in my record books as the greatest tight end duo in the history of the National Football League. I do like these 2 players, and I think both of these guys can make another trip to the Pro Bowl together. Great offense, and they're looking to get back into that Super Bowl. I'm really seeing how that running game is going to work for New England, but they still, it's a pass-happy offense no matter what, and they have a lot of great receivers around Tom Brady with Wes Welker, Hernandez, Rob Gronkowski, also Brandon Lloyd, who was actually a Pro Bowl player as well a couple years back with the Denver Broncos. I like these guys a lot, so I really have to stick with Rob Gronkowski, number 1 overall NFL record books last season, most touchdowns, most yardage, and I'm thinking forward he's going to have another 1,200-yard season, possibly another 1,300-yard season this season. Now, have a couple of honorable mentions. Mainly they have a couple of good goal line receivers with Heath Miller of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's actually a good overall receiver at a tight end. He had 631 yards receiving and just 2 scores, and then he's not too much of a goal line type player, but I think he can boost up those touchdowns this season. Scott Chandler of the Buffalo Bills. Now he's a goal line player. 6 touchdowns last season with 389 yards receiving. Yeah, I think those stats are going to boost up just a little bit more. Hopefully Ryan Kirkpatrick steps it up a little bit at the quarterback position. And last but not least, I'm going to actually go with actually 2 more players. Tony Sheffer of the Detroit Lions. He's working along with Brandon Pettigrew. This is a good tight end tandem as well. 347 yards receiving and 6 scores. And last but not least, Joe Dressen of the Denver Broncos. 353 yards receiving and 6 scores. He's a good red zone threat, and with Peyton Manning in hand, he's going to be using him a lot. I think a lot of people are going to be considering Dressen as a sleeper at the tight end position, but I have to put him as my honorable mention because I have 2 players in particular I think to be big time sleepers this upcoming year. First, Kyle Rudolph of the Minnesota Vikings. I had to put him as my sleeper. He had just 249 yards receiving and 3 scores. But it's because of the lack of performance from the quarterback, Christian Ponder. But hopefully Christian Ponder will play better this season. I think he will improve this year. And Kyle Rudolph is actually due for a breakthrough season. And he was a great tight end at the University of Notre Dame. Great speed, good hands, good body control movement. He is a Pro Bowl caliber, in my opinion, at the tight end position. He just needs to have a better performance from quarterback Christian Ponder, and I think Ponder will improve this year. So I had to go with Kyle Rudolph of the Minnesota Vikings, and also Coby Fleener of the Indianapolis Colts. He was actually drafted out of Stanford just like Andrew Luck in this past year's NFL draft. He's a great tight end, over 600 yards receiving last season, and he's actually rekindling a relationship he already has with Andrew Luck. I think he's due for a great season. He's going to be working along with Dwayne Allen. I think Coby Fleener is going to get looked at a little bit more because of the relationship he already has with Andrew Luck. Luck is more comfortable with Fleener than Dwayne Allen, and I think Coby Fleener is due for a good, decent season, and he will be a good sleeper this year for the fantasy football play. And I think he's just a good tight end coming out of Stanford. I think he's due for a good season. That's why I had to go with him, a gut feeling for him as my sleeper. Now that wraps things up with all of my tight ends. I'm going to catch you guys tomorrow to go on the defensive side and start giving you my top 20 defenses. Thank you for watching today's vlog from Franchise Sports Talk. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.